One of the biggest crime cases to happen in the Philippines was a case of Jee Ick Joo, a Korean businessman who was kidnapped and brutally murdered by the Philippines police officers. And this case exposed the deep corruption of the Philippines Police Department. But till this day, this case is still technically unsolved, as we have no idea why Mr. J was kidnapped and killed in the first place, where an unthinkable happened by the very people you were supposed to trust. The family of this case still needs your help because the police departments are still concealing something regarding Mr. J's case. If you guys are from the Philippines or have knowledge in the police departments or can figure out why this happened to this man, even though the suspects technically have been sentenced, they still did not explain why they did this. So if you guys have any special theories, you guys could comment down after watching this video, please do. And GRAZY TV, I told you guys, is back in 2025, and it's been a weird start to 2025. So many things has happened. And recently I received the scary email where this person knew my phone number and claimed that they knew the websites that I was surfing at, which indicated to me my data was being leaked somewhere and I was using my home Wi-Fi, and said that if I don't give him $2,000 to his bank account, he's gonna expose the fact that I was on a couple websites. I don't know. This is why I find VPNs so important, and I personally use CyberGhost VPN, and thank you to CyberGhost VPN for being a sponsor for GRAZY TV. When you're in public spaces like the airport, hotels, your information is being stolen and tracked. So just turn on CyberGhost VPN on your phone before you browse. It encrypts and reroutes 100% of your traffic through their secure servers, so no one will know about your online activity. They have servers in over 100 countries, 38 million users worldwide, and it has a great review on Trustpilot, so you know it's legit. But the best part about CyberGhost is that you can have up to 7 devices at the same time, so smart TVs, iPads, phones. You could split it with your family and your friends. Also unlock exclusive content throughout 40 different streaming platforms like Amazon, Netflix. There's a 45-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free. Get access to all blocked content on the internet only for $2.03 a month only. Again, link in the description. Thank you so much to CyberGhost, and just by checking out today's sponsors really help to run GRAZY TV. Let's get back to the story. So this case happened back in 2016. There was a Korean national couple named Mr. and Mrs. J, and they were living in the Philippines because Mr. J had some kind of a business there. Now, from what I know, it seems like Mr. J had a pretty successful, I would say, career in the Philippines because they lived in a huge house, and Miss J described this house, their house in the Philippines, as almost like an American house, where it's like a house, you have the yards in the back and things like that, and you know, they had a second and third story floor. So she said that she was so happy living in the Philippines with also their 7-year-old daughter. I believe Philippines is a bit of a cheaper country in terms of like what you can buy and things like that compared to Korea and America. So she said that they were even able to afford a housemaid. Now we fast forward to October of 2016. So Mr. and Mrs. J's couple hired a new housemaid, and she was only working for 3 days. This was her 3rd day at work. Mr. J goes off to work, and he usually comes back home to eat lunch. But in the morning, Miss J says that she remembers telling the housemaid, Maria was her name, telling her like what to do around the house and what needs to be done. Miss J says that she got a text message from Mr. J that morning saying, "Hey honey, I'm gonna come home for lunch again." She said sure, but I'm gonna be out because she had to do some kind of errand. Miss J says that she went out at 11:30 a.m. to do her errands, and when she came back it was 5 p.m. When she arrived home, she says that it was super odd because the front door was open. She went inside saying, "Maria, like, did you leave the door open?" But nobody was home, and Mr. J should be home by now. So she called Mr. J, her husband, texted, and never got a response. She definitely knew that something was wrong, and she went upstairs to her 2nd floor, where she says that there are drawers where they lock it, where they put their passport, their jewelry, valuables that people can steal, but that drawer was completely empty. But she says that everything else in the house was completely normal and clean. Maria, her housemaid, also couldn't be contacted. Now, shortly after, her daughter, 7-year-old daughter, came home, I guess from school, and her daughter even said, "Mommy, I'm scared." I think something's wrong. And she's only 7 years old. Mr. J would not come back home that night, and of course Miss J was very worried. But in the Philippines, apparently, unless it's been over 24 hours, you can't report somebody as missing, because especially as an adult, they can just leave the house whenever they want since you're not a minor. So now it's been 1 day after Mr. J has just completely gone missing, and she says that she got a text messages from her neighbors, and her neighbors are also fellow Korean nationals. And the neighbors texted her saying, "Don't tell anybody, just come to our house alone." She was like, what the heck is going on? Is this some kind of a movie situation? So when Miss J went to the neighbor's house, they showed her a video that they recorded the day before of Mr. J in some kind of an odd altercation.
당한 사람 한국인 아니가? 저 사람 죽은 거 아이가 끌려가가?
So this is a video of Mr. J and about 3 men, I think you could see here, completely like grabbing him. They're big men and trying to shove him into the car. And Mr. J is literally screaming and saying, "Help me," in the middle of the day, the bright day, right? Now, Miss J said, well, like, why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you get help if you saw my husband literally struggling, literally being kidnapped? And the neighbors say that we were so scared too. I kind of get it. They're in another country. It's not like they're nationals there. They don't speak the language as well. It was 3 big men shoving somebody into the car. I mean, if I saw that, I would still report it to the police, but we'll get to the story why that might not even have worked. Miss J, of course, took the video, went to the police, and that is when the police started to do some investigation. But Miss J says that the police were so slow and they didn't take her case seriously. So she eventually had to hire some private detectives and work herself. So she went through the bank accounts of her husband and found out that Mr. J's bank account was literally drained. $0. And in the online bank statement, it showed that his bank account was drained in 3 different locations and even showed the time and where the money was taken. So of course, she went to the bank where the money was taken and she pleaded the bank staff like, "Hey, my husband was literally kidnapped. Somebody drained the bank account. Show me the CCTV." And oddly, the Philippines bank staff, the bank said, "No, sorry." So we looked at the CCTV, but the people who stole the money is also our customers. So due to privacy protection, we can't show you the CCTV. Like, what? I'd never even heard of that. She says that she went back multiple days and cried in front of the bank, and they still said, "No, I can't give you the CCTV," which clearly sounds very odd. Then she went to the police and said, "Hey, here's like proof that, somebody's kidnapped my husband. He still might be alive. Like, I need your help." And the police even said, "I'm sorry, we can't do anything. Like, the bank is saying we can't see the CCTV footage, so just wait." And she was baffled. I mean, at this point, she is so frustrated that the police, like nobody is trying to help this man who has been kidnapped. Now, a couple days into the kidnapping, finally, Maria, the housemaid, shows up to the police station and she gave her statement to the police. So she claims that after Miss J left, she was doing the chores and dishes, and all of a sudden, these 3 men entered the home shouting, "Your boss, aka Mr. J, has done drugs. Go and find the drugs." So the 3 men came in and just ransacked specifically their drawers of where the jewelry and the precious things were. It's really interesting how the policemen just knew to go to the 2nd floor and to go through a specific drawers and take all their valuables. So did Maria tell them this? And did she know where the valuables were? But I mean, Maria's been only working in that house for 3 days, so would the owners have told her like the valuables are located here? That doesn't sound plausible either. And Maria claims that, she was also kidnapped with Mr. J on October 18th. The day he went missing. And she says that they were like blindfolded and they couldn't talk and they drove for a while. And all of a sudden they grabbed her and like took her out of the car, left her in the middle of the streets and threatened her saying, "You never come back to City of Angels," where, she was working with Mr. J. "Otherwise, I'm going to kill you." And said that they showed their own badges to her and it said police department. So she said that she was scared for her own life, so she did not come back for a couple days. And for some reason, she decided to come back and say all of this to the police. We'll get back to Maria. Now, fast forward to 13 days since Mr. J was kidnapped. Miss J then says that she got a text message on her phone, and it read, "Your husband is alive, but to save his life, we are going to need around $90,000 in order to release him. But if she reported this to the police, he's going to die." Now, I personally would have reported this to the police, but Miss J says that she was in this crazy situation, like a movie situation. Like, she really thought that her husband was going to die, so she did not go to the police and decided that she was going to gather the money somehow, because $90,000 is a lot. So she says within one day, she asked her families and friends in Korea. She called around and somehow was able to gather $90,000. These kidnappers that had Mr. J ordered her, instructed her how to get the money. And it was the next day, and she got a text saying that she needs to come to a specific shopping mall. Leave the money in the back of the car has to be unlocked, and she's gonna walk to a nearby fast food restaurant. They also told her, do not look back, otherwise he's going to be killed. So Miss J says that she took 2 other friends with her to go to this shopping lot and did everything that the kidnappers told her to do. She left the money in the back of the car. She went to a fast food restaurant right next to it and just waited. She texted the kidnappers, "Hey, please let me know if my husband is alive. At least let me talk to him." But from then on, silence. The kidnappers never texted her again. So as she was waiting in the restaurants, she says that she all of a sudden heard like loud motorcycles and bunch of cars that came into the parking lot of where she parked her car. So she says that she was afraid, but she had to look, and she saw again motorcycles, like bunch of people that just crowded the parking lot in minutes. And then shortly after, everybody left. Really odd. So could it be a crazy coincidence that a bunch of motorcycles and cars showed up? Now, she knew that she had to run back to her car to see if the money was there. And of course, the money was gone. So in a lot of people's opinions, a bunch of these motorcycles and cars, whoever they were definitely somehow involved in this. They took the money, so Miss J was like, okay, where's my husband? Like, where is he? And again, silence, and never got another message. So she was so frustrated that she decided to go to the media with this. So she told her story in front of the media of what happened to her husband, and he could be alive still. Who knows? And then the police department were doing nothing. So it was only then 3 months since her husband's kidnapping, the police department finally said, we will get on the investigation. So finally, police were able to get their hands on the CCTV footages of when Mr. J's bank account was drained. And these are the footages. So we see 2 men here that are draining his bank account on October 18th, the day he was kidnapped. Now, finally, 90 days since Mr. J went missing, not even the police, the private investigators that she hired called her and said, hey, come to our office. Miss J was like, what is it? What is it? What is the information? And they would not tell her anything over the phone and made her come, to their office because this was some serious information. So as she arrived at the detective's office, she says that they would not speak for a while. Like, they were silent because the information that they found out was so brutal and sad that it was even hard for them to even speak about it. So the detectives finally told her, we found out what happened to Mr. J, and I'm sorry, but he actually passed away on October 18th, the day he was kidnapped. And the main theme around this case is that he was murdered at the parking lot of a police station. And few days since this news broke out to the media, a man came to turn himself in to the police station claiming that he knows what happened and he was one of the suspects. And this suspect was named Biligas. And this suspect, Biligas, was actually a narcotics investigation department police officer. So he was a police officer claiming that he was involved in the murder of Mr. J.
Sana makinig ako.
Sa harapan po ng bahay, nantayin na namin sumakay po siya. Mga
Kasalamin
araw,
din.
So according to Billagas, this is what happened. On the day of the 18th, there was the driver of the car himself, another police officer. They were waiting in front of the victim's house, and when the victim, Mr. J, came out, that is when they grabbed him and put him inside of their car, including Maria, the housemaid. Now, this happened around 2 p.m., and we don't know what happened between the hours because at night, they brought Mr. J to the police department's parking lot. And this is where the mystery gets really odd and deep. Billaga says that him and the other police officers were ordered to ask Mr. J, are you Albert Chua?
in Albert,
Albert.
Chua.
He says that he was ordered to continuously ask Mr. J if he was Albert Chua. Mr. J proceeded to say, no, I'm not Albert Chua. Who is that? I'm not that person. Billaga says that in this desperate situation, Mr. J says that, okay, let me give you Iraq or $90,000 in order to free me. I'm not sure why I'm here, but I'll give you guys money. Then he says that after the money offer, one of the person in the car called somebody. After some exchange over the phone, the person hung up and simply said, this cannot be solved with money. Basically, a code word. Somebody told the people inside of the car, kill him. Then he was handed a tape and plastic bag to suffocate Mr. J. And he claims that that is how Mr. J passed away, by suffocation. It's a bit of a disturbing detail, but Miss J had to hear all of this and she asked specific details and questions. And Billaga says that it took a bit of time for Mr. J to die as they were unnecessarily just making him suffer inside of the plastic bag. And this is one of the biggest holes in this case is who is Albert Chua and why do they think that Mr. J is Albert Chua? And why are they continuously asking him this question if he said no? I mean, there's two theories. One is that Albert Chua really does exist and someone was going after Albert Chua. And number two is that Albert Chua doesn't exist, or maybe he does, but Mr. J had to die in the name of Albert Chua or pretend to be Albert Chua because they needed somebody to die, if that makes sense. So like a fake death or fake murder under the pretense of somebody else's body so that these people can be like, yeah, we killed Albert Chua and it's that body, but it's not actually the person, if that makes sense. So Mr. J had to die in the name of Albert Chua, even though he wasn't that person. And maybe that's why they said, Billaga said, this can't be solved with money. Again, the big picture that's missing is why? Why? Is this about money? Is this about drugs? Like, was Mr. J really involved? Or was he involved in some business that the wife just doesn't know about? Or was Mr. J just an innocent victim, like one of the theories that, you know, they just had to get a random person's body to pretend to be Albert Chua? And the wife, Miss J, and the private detectives also asked Billagas, so where's the body then? And Billagas claimed that after Mr. J died at 10 p.m., they took the body to a cremation site. Billaga says that I don't know where this place is, like I was just hired to do this. Now from here, Miss J said, okay, where's the ashes? Give me the ashes. And Billaga claimed that they took the ashes and flushed it down the toilet, which is one of the most heartbreaking thing. Like I can't even imagine what Miss J would be going through to hear that there's not even remains of your beloved husband. They literally just were so inhumane and just completely wanted this person to be erased from the planet. And of course, Miss J and the detectives asked why. Who is Albert Chua? Why did you guys do this? What is the background story in all of this? And Billagas said that there are some things that he cannot say because his family will be in danger. And that's all he can say is what happened to Mr. J, but cannot talk about the reasons why this had to happen. So till this day, nobody knows why this even happened. But at least Billagas named the two other people that were inside of the car that participated. And the two other suspects that was in the car were also policemen. Two police officers named Santa and Jerry. When Santa and Jerry were arrested, they denied everything. And I guess in the Philippines, you're able to meet, like this family is able to meet and interrogate the suspects. And the suspect said, do you have any proof? Where's the body? I didn't do it. Like, it was the private detectives and Miss Jee that somehow got the CCTV footages from the bank. They got all of these evidence and presented it to the police because they wouldn't do the investigation, probably because it was involving their own police officers, right? Something about this case, they say, is going to completely expose the Philippines Police Department. So they probably got the orders from the higher upper people to not investigate this on purpose. Villegas confessed that there were upper people that was involved. He doesn't know who they are, but the day that Mr. J died, they were wearing something called balloon, which is an outfit that is worn by men in the Philippines who are in a bit of a higher position. So he is giving clues that higher upper people are involved in this. But again, why? Finally, the trials started, and the two men, Santa and Jerry, in court, you could see they're wearing bulletproof vests. And there's some theories about this. According to Miss Jee and the private detectives, they believe that Santa and Jerry were getting threats from somebody, that their life was going to be taken away if they do speak up or say something. So now, thank God, due to media and the good citizens, they protested for Mr. J, and they knew that the Philippines Police Department was so corrupt that they could not just sit back and watch this. And because of the media pressure, 4 other people who were involved in this case was revealed to be top officials of the National Bureau of Investigation, NBI. And police named one of these 4 people to be the mastermind of all of this, and his name is Rafael Dumalo. To just get a verdict of the first trial took 7 years. So only in 2023, the first trial verdict came, because Ms. Jee said that every time the trial date came, the suspect said that they're sick, they can't go there for some reason. And if you guys have been through court, if you do put out an excuse, court date can be pushed back. And usually it's 3 months, 6 months, it's months just to get a court date. So this took 7 years, and only in 2023, they finally got a verdict. In the first trial, Santa and Jerry were sentenced to life. But Villegas, who turned himself in, he was released. Because in the Philippines, I believe if you turn yourself in or you confess and give information, you can get immunity. Ms. Jee was baffled that I understand he came forward, but he was still involved in the killing of my husband and he gets to go free. Another slap in the face was the top 4 officials in the NBI that were the masterminds were all released. But in July of 2024, so only a couple months ago, the court did sentence one of the men, Rafael, who was one of the masterminds, to 30 to 35 years in prison. Ms. Jee was constantly told that one of the reasons why this case might never be fully solved and she might not be able to get everybody that was involved in this, which it seems like multiple people, is that it might expose even a darker, deeper secret about the NBI in the Philippines Police Department, that it's going to open a can of worms, and obviously they want to conceal that. Now, there are some theories that Maria, the housemaid, could have also been hired and involved in this. That was kind of up in the air. Who knows? What do you guys think? Do you think it's ironic that Maria was hired 3 days before? Maybe she was the one who gave information to the people, the suspects, texting yeah, Mr. J is home now. Because how would the policemen know what time Mr. J would be there? And second of all, policemen knew where to steal their valuables. Remember, everything else in the house was kept neat, but only the drawers where they had the passports, their money, jewelry was ransacked. I think it's sick that these people knew that Mr. J died the day that he was kidnapped and led along Miss J to believe that her husband was alive so that they can steal more money, $90,000, right? So let me know what your theory is. What do you think is happening here? Is there something darker behind this? If you guys learned something from this case or want to share this video so that this case can go viral and get some justice for the family, like the video, share, comment down. Thank you guys so much for watching, and big thank you to CyberGhost VPN. And don't forget to click on the description link to get the special discount CyberGhost VPN is granting to our channel users. This application will protect your data while you browse and give you full access to all blocked content on the internet for only $2.30. Totally risk-free, so check it out. A link in the description.